Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. Or if you happen to be a new visitor here or a regular visitor who hasn't subscribed yet, please go ahead and click on that big subscribe button to stay up to date with all the latest Star Trek news on YouTube. So today we're talking about the last episode of Season 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks entitled First Contact. The season's kind of flown by. It sort of didn't seem like it only started a few weeks ago and it's already at the end of the season. But that's okay because we've got so much Star Trek content to come. We've got, Prodigy starting up in a week or two's time and we've got Discovery after that. I'm guessing we're going to be flooded with Star Trek things to talk about for the next 12 months. So that's all good. This was quite a good last episode of the season. Good scale of the episode, lots of excitement and action, and it was definitely, they lifted the bar in terms of the scale of the storytelling, I think, for this last episode. There are a few things that were interesting that, maybe had me thinking they could have been a little bit bigger, but that's okay. But anyway, let's get into our discussion on our last episode of Season 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks. So when I first heard there was going to be a returning character from Next Generation appearing in this episode, your mind automatically goes to the principal cast, Worf or Geordi or one of the Next Generation crew, because obviously in the season finale for Season 1, we had Troy and Riker as the guest stars for that season finale. So when I first heard there was going to be a TNG character appearing, I was thinking of the similar, kind of that sort of similar scale. But when I heard the returning character was Sonya Gomez, my initial response was, who? I had to look it up. The name meant nothing to me. Only after I kind of looked it up, oh, right, okay, yes, the episode Q Who, right at the start, there's a really awkward ensign who's just come on board the ship and she spills hot chocolate on Picard.
I don't think you want to be around these control stations with that hot chocolate, do you?
Lieutenant LaForge, this is not going to happen again. Oh, no! Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Captain, it's all over you.
Yes, Ensign, it's all over me. Ensign
Sonya Gomez.
I remembered that, but I had no memory of the name Sonya Gomez. And to be quite honest, she appeared very briefly in Q Who, and she also appeared in the episode after that, Samaritan Snare, which was that Packlet episode in Season 2 of Next Gen. If you're going to bring back a character from Next Generation, at least bring back somebody we remember. And we know, I suppose Sonya Gomez epitomizes the notion of the lower deckers. She was the first, one of these lower deckers on board the Enterprise. She just joined the Enterprise from the Starbase and, was very nervous with Geordi and engineering and everything. So I guess she epitomizes that kind of lower decks crew member concept. But I had to look up this character. I had virtually no memory of them whatsoever. There was such a small part. Early on in this episode, we see Boimler working on a Captain Freeman Day banner, which obviously is a reference to the Next Generation episode where they had a Captain Picard Day, which was kind of like a bit of an event day for like the school kiddies on board the Enterprise to do a few little crafty things to kind of show their support for the ship that they happen to be living on. So Boimler's getting right into that and he's making the whole banner up and Rutherford's kind of giving him a bit of stick, kind of saying, come on, dude, this is just like a craft day for toddlers, So I thought that was a nice reference back to that episode. We also got to see Captain Gomez's starship, which is kind of like an upgraded version of the Excelsior class. It's actually an Obina class ship, the USS Archimedes. It's very, very similar shape to a USS Excelsior, but it's been kind of upgraded a little bit. It's got warp nacelles on it that are the same or very similar to the nacelles on the Enterprise E, and also the main deflector dish is very similar to the Enterprise E deflector dish as well, but it's kind of like in that vague style of the Excelsior, just kind of an upgraded version. One thing I thought was good about this episode, it had a big scale to it. The sense of the very first contact for the Cerritos. They normally get second contact duties, but they were given a first contact to do, and the fact that they had the planetoid exploding and then the Archimedes disabled and they had to kind of remove all the hull plating to get through it and everything. It was a step above, I think. This was one of my favourite episodes of the season, just in the sense of that sense of scale, grandeur. It felt like a big Star Trek episode. In fact, this whole sequence with the Archimedes being hit by the blast wave from the planet to me was right out of Star Trek VI Undiscovered Country when the Excelsior gets hit by the exploding Praxis moon shockwave. We saw a bit more development of the relationship between Mariner and Jennifer, the Andorian. It had been a kind of a very antagonistic relationship in the past. Mariner kind of dissing on her all the time and everything, but at the end of this episode, they kind of almost became friends, and I kind of almost seems like it's possible that Jennifer, the Andorian, might even join their little lower decks group, perhaps, at some point. So it was good to see that relationship evolve. One interesting part of this episode, which I thought was kind of like initially it was a bit of a head-scratching moment, but then I just kind of went with it, which is the whole notion of the whales or the dolphins, I'm not sure whether they're whales or dolphins, in cetacean ops, which has got a couple of these whales or dolphins in a water tank, and they kind of serve some kind of purpose on board the ship. I'm guessing this was a homage to Sequest DSV. Do you guys remember Sequest DSV back in the 90s? It was this sort of science fiction, Star Trek-esque science fiction series on board a submarine. It was set in the future. It had Roy Schneider as the captain, and they had a dolphin. His name was Darwin. And Dolphin Darwin could speak. He was kind of like a member of the crew. He would go off and do little missions and stuff, and he had like a little electronic voice box to things so he could kind of communicate. It kind of reminded me of this. The whales or the dolphins in the cetacean ops on board the Cerritos definitely reminded me of Darwin the dolphin in Sequest DSV. I'm not sure. I assume that was a homage to that show. It was the first thing I thought of anyway. The other element of this storyline, which was quite interesting and obviously raised a lot of questions that hopefully we're going to get paid off in the next season, is the fact that we've got Rutherford's implant going a bit mental and a bit crazy, fritzing out, little error messages appearing on the screen and everything for him, and he had to kind of do a reboot where he sort of saw flashes of images from his past memory, and also some images that he wasn't meant to see, in the sense that he's got these clandestine, shadowy figures installing this implant into him, them saying that they're going to change his memory to make it out that he remembers getting the implant as an elective procedure, but it would seem like some shadowy Section 31 type organisation has implanted this implant into Rutherford, and it wasn't his choice to do so. They've implanted the memory in him of choosing to do it, but he didn't actually choose to do it. So clearly there's some secret dodgy organisation or alien race or who knows what, because we didn't see them, only we saw the shadowy figures installing the implant into Rutherford. So the question that is on everyone's burning mind for next season is, who are these shadowy figures that are clearly spying on the Cerritos crew by using Rutherford's implant? There was a fun little moment in this episode where when Boimler was saving the ship by swimming through the watery dolphin whale tubes or whatever to unlock that last piece of hull plating they needed to disengage or whatever to get through the debris field. And when he passes out and has a near-death moment and then comes to again back on the ship after being saved by the whales or dolphins, he goes, "Oh, I saw the koala." And Tendi just kind of says, "Don't worry about that, just forget about that," linking back to that first season episode when that friend of Tendi's was having that spiritual enlightenment moment where he kind of ascended to a different plane of existence and he saw a giant smiling koala. So that was a good link back to that episode in season 1. Obviously another large part of this episode was Tendi terribly fearful that she was basically being sacked and transferred off the ship because she overheard Dr. Ta'ana say that she wasn't suited in sickbay, but that she's actually too good for just menial tasks in sickbay and that she's actually getting some more fancy bridge duties. So we are going to look forward to seeing Tendi on the bridge as more of a science officer role. So Tendi is going to follow in the footsteps of Spock, Jadzia Dax, as she mentions in this episode, and Tilly from Discovery, all good sort of science officers that have served on the bridge of their starship. So it looks like Tendi's up for some higher duties. That'll be good to see for next season. And obviously the big twist at the end of this episode, the fact that Freeman, who thought she was getting promotion to another Federation starship, actually got herself arrested by Starfleet security, and Freeman has been accused of basically bombing planet Pakled. We know that the Paklids had a Veruvian bomb off the Klingons, and they tested it on an asteroid, and then the Klingons were giving them another bomb which obviously they've blown up on their own planet, and somehow the Klingons or the probably not the Pakleds, because they're not probably smart enough to concoct a scheme of this magnitude, but it would appear the Klingons have somehow underhandedly doctored logs or footage, security footage or whatever, to make Freeman responsible for this destruction on planet Pakled. So she's been hauled off to Starfleet to undergo some sort of tribunal, and we're probably going to get to see a legal case revolving around this at the start of season 3. I'm guessing it's probably going to be some sort of Measure of a Man kind of type episode, which should be kind of fun, and see, you know, how Freeman gets her name cleared of this incident. But the biggest burning question that is on my mind is who is going to take command of the Cerritos in Freeman's absence. I would like to hope that we're going to get a character we've seen before. Maybe, you know, a past, you know, DS9 or Voyager character who's risen in the ranks to become Captain Kira. Maybe Captain Chakotay, maybe Captain Tuvok, who knows? Maybe Captain Worf. There's plenty of good choices where we could see a past character just take over as a captain of the Cerritos, just for a little bit, just to until the whole legal situation is resolved itself with Freeman. But it'd be good to see a past Star Trek character we're familiar with, just, you know, do a couple of episodes just to take over until Freeman's back on board again. Look, guys, I really enjoyed this last episode of the season. It would have been nice to have a little bit bigger of a guest star than Sonia Gomez, who I virtually didn't even remember, and I certainly didn't remember the name. I remember the character. Oh yes, it's that chick who spilt the hot chocolate on Picard. But yeah, she was literally a very, very small guest star that only kind of appeared in 2 episodes. Didn't really ever get utilised again after that. We never saw her again. But I guess it makes sense to bring her back as, you know, as a former Lower Decker. This show obviously, you know, celebrates Lower Deckers, so, you know, great to see her in this capacity. But yeah, it would have been nice to have a little bit bigger guest star for the season finale. Guys, let me know what you thought of this episode. Leave your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And please, if you're able to, please leave a super thanks. It really helps the channel out. Churning out all these videos every week for you guys. Much appreciated if you can. Otherwise, check out my merch store. There's always a big sale going on in the merch store. I know over the next coming weeks, there's a sale in the merch store. I believe there's a sale as we speak, in fact. Yes, there is. 15% off at the moment in the merch store. So you can pick up yourself a cool t-shirt for 15% off. And there's going to be other sales and free shipping stuff and everything going on in coming weeks. So there's always bargains going on. So please check that out for a great Star Trek themed merch for yourself, and it really helps support the channel at the same time. Until next time, guys, we've got nothing on here next week, but then the week after that we've got Prodigy starting. That's going to be great to see, but I will be putting out videos next week regardless, and I'll see you very soon. Catch you then.